I've never been late in my life, and I was 48 minutes late. I was
48.
unforgivably late. Anyway, I walked in just, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your
Go on,
show,
go on, go on, go on.
about to shit myself. And
I thought we could start by talking a little bit about Barry and maybe even a little bit about sort of pre-Barry. So where were you in your kind of acting career before Barry showed up?
Well, I actually just finished a series that ended very abruptly called Hindsight. We were canceled after having a second season pickup. It was my first sort of brush with how brutal this business can be. And yeah, I was very much unemployed. And I was in my bathrobe in the afternoon eating peanut butter and banana on toast when my incredible manager, Peter Kusakis, called me and said, Bill Hader has this new pilot for HBO, and I think it's your part. And I was like, sure, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Sign me up. I mean, I'm available. Let me check my diary. Yeah. So, it felt like such a leap and such a stretch. But I read the script and I really connected with the character. I just felt like I knew her. I also just felt like what they'd written was so original, what Bill and Alec Berg had written. And the tone, it was so specific and like nothing I'd ever read. And here was this character who was like this Trojan horse sort of girlfriend, girl next door type, but actually was this completely complex character that twisted even in the pilot. So yeah, I worked really hard and went through quite a lengthy audition process and got the role. Yeah, which was pretty wild.
When you say you read the script, you felt like you knew her. What did you mean by that?
I don't know. I just felt like I'd met this type of person who had this kind of dream, slightly broken dream already, even at the top of the show, having moved to Los Angeles and left a difficult past. And she had this kind of myopic view of the world, and somebody who just wanted something so badly. I just felt like I'd met her in a bar in LA. She had a kind of tragedy to her, but mixed in with this kind of ambition and narcissism and sort of power and gregarious quality mixed with a guileless quality. She was just so many things.
Was there something to playing an aspiring actor after going through that sort of like, I mean, I guess cancellation, I guess that sort of like abrupt ending to that show you mentioned you were working on before?
Yeah.
Was there something about going into a role as an aspiring actor?
Maybe. I mean, I just, good scripts are hard to come by. And I think it was just her voice was so clear on the page and the comedy was so rich and the turns, like even, she was such a fast talker and, within one line, there were sort of three pivots. And I was just drawn to the rhythm of the whole thing.
You had to do improv with
Yes.
Bill Hader. And Bill Hader, by the way, for people who don't know, at this point, had been like one of the most acclaimed Saturday Night Live cast members. I had written for South Park. He'd been in Trainwreck, like one of these like generational comedic actors. So you had to do improv with him in your audition?
Bill called me and he said, how would you feel about coming in and improvising with me, for a session? And I just said, not great. He's like the prince of comedy. I had zero improv experience. It was completely not my background. Anyway, he just said, you don't have to be funny. I'm going to give you three scenarios. And all I want you to do is think of a point of view for each scenario and then come in and we'll try it. And honestly, I came in, well, first of all, it's a bit of a long story, but I have to say, while I was waiting to go in and absolutely nervous in the corner, there was this woman who was also going in and she was pacing back and forth and her nerves were becoming contagious. And I thought I better go hide down this stairwell. So I sat there down this stairwell with my script and I felt this presence like rush by me. And then they sort of pivoted and did a 180 and stuck their hand out. And it was Henry Winkler. And he went, "Hi, I'm Henry." And I said, "Hi, I'm hallucinating." Yeah. And he's, I introduced myself and then he said, "Are you going in to read?" And I said, "Yeah, I am, Henry." And he said, "Well, break a leg." And I said, "Thanks, Henry. How did yours go?" And he said, "You know what? If I had an answer to that question, I tell you this much, I had fun." And he sort of like waltzed out in this like regal way. And then I watched him, and there was this huge window down the end of the stairwell. And for the next 20 minutes, I watched him go back and forth in the parking lot looking for his car. I just thought, okay, I've had the full Los Angeles experience. I can definitely, one for the memoir, whether I get this job or not. So meeting him, I feel like infused me with the magic that that man possesses. He was probably the lucky ingredient. Anyway, so I went in and yeah, we read the scenes that were in the script and then we started the improv. And honestly, I've never laughed so hard in my life. We spent about an hour improvising, and what was great was Bill didn't hide behind the camera the way, you know, a director or a reader would usually in these auditions. He got up on camera with me. So it felt like we were really, you know, running these scenes and trying these beats out. And I didn't feel alone up there auditioning or trying to prove something. It was like we were building something together. You know, and then he walked me out and thanked me so much for coming in this way that I thought, okay, well, that's that. I mean, this is a nice story to go back to New York with, you know, where
Yeah.
I improv with Bill Hader for an hour. And then I got a call the next day saying, don't leave town. They want to screen test you on Friday. So it was all very quick. I don't know, I didn't know Los Angeles at the time, and I've never been late in my life. And I was 48 minutes late
No.
screen test.
That I thought you were going to say, I never been late in my life, and I was 3 minutes late. You know what I
No,
mean?
I was
48.
unforgivably late. The amazing manager that I mentioned was driving me to my appointment, insisted, and we had the wrong address and we'd gone to the wrong place. The
You
two
must
of
have
us,
thought it's all over. Like, there's no way.
it was over. In my mind, it was over. And poor Peter was like, I've ruined her life. Anyway, I walked in just, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your
Go on,
show,
go on, go on, go on.
about to shit myself. And then I walked in. They couldn't have been nicer. And I was really there to meet Alec Berg, who I hadn't met yet, you know, and they got me a coffee. Alec offered me a coffee. I said, I will not be drinking that. I'm so sorry I'm 45 minutes late, 48 minutes late, but I have to go to the bathroom. So then I was even later. But by the time I got on camera, it was actually a scene from Terms of Endearment, the famous scene in the hospital with Shirley MacLaine, you know, where she's screaming about her daughter. And so they called action, and I just burst into tears. I really got it for free. So, in a roundabout way, maybe it got me the job, and I was never late again.
It's really amazing what Sally became, your character Sally became, because I'm here even now trying to. She's so complex. She's so
Yeah,
many different things that I am struggling right now to define her. Like she
that's
is,
great.
you know what I mean? But that's something that
Yeah,
you got praise for, and the character got praise for almost right out of the gate. That there was, you know, like, you know, that this was someone who was, you know, she's an aspiring actor. She's driven. She wants to be taken seriously as an actor. She wants to be, you know, even Meryl Streep. She wants to be like a very
mhm,
well respected actor. She wants comfort. She's gone through trauma. She's strong. She's weak. She's
yeah.
conniving. She's innocent. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to.
I know what you mean, and it's a list that could keep going. And I take it as a huge compliment, and I really appreciate it because, you know, at the time, what was frustrating me was reading parts for women that were none of those things, and they were often one thing. She's so sweet, or she's the bossy one, the bitchy one, the sexy one, you know, and these kind of female tropes that you see again and again. Or, you know, the world is changing, but it's changing slowly. And, you know, I read her and there was a complexity to her, and that was something that I pushed for as the years went on. And I think you say there was praise out of the gate, but there was also a lot of backlash, which we were expecting. And there was so much noise online around her being an unlikable character, which is, you know, the likability barometer is something that we only associate with women and female characters. And it's just good old fashioned misogyny. It's not even an adjective that you would use to describe someone. You know, you meet someone at a dinner party, you don't go away and say, you know what, they were so likable. I mean, it's beige, you know? So it was something that we actively fought against. And I was really adamant that we maintain her complexity. And this is a show about morally bankrupt people. And I did not want Sally to be exempt from that by virtue of being the female. I never wanted her to be the moral barometer for the show. I never wanted her to be simplistic or become any kind of female trope. And so we fought against that for years. And Alec Berg and Bill Hader are very collaborative, and they listened to me on this. And it was, that was a really wonderful thing to have that on a TV show, because actors' input isn't always welcome, and ours always was, which was unique.
It's funny you mentioned the good old misogyny, because I read, when I was doing research for this, I read a lot of discourse around your character's, likability, and let's acknowledge again, unlikable, only a term used towards female characters.
Yeah.
And I read a quote, I think it might have even been Bill Hader, who said something like, "People keep on calling Sally the most unlikable character on the show. My character murders people in cold blood. Like,
That's
my
right.
character kills people who don't deserve it."
That's
And
right.
somehow people call Sally the most unlikable
Exactly. And
character.
it says a lot about who we are as a society and as a culture, that's the response, that we're able to see a male behave that way on screen and they're sort of untouchable. And then a female behaves in a way that's ambitious, in a way that's a little bit vain or narcissistic, or with Sally, she could be cruel, but in a sort of guileless, not in a calculated way. And that would be more, that there's a deeper allergy to that than to watching someone kill in cold blood. So I thought, as a social experiment, that was pretty interesting, and we leaned into it. And I think eventually, the complexity of who she is as a character, you know, came through, and I feel like people changed their tune a little bit. But yeah, it was kind of fascinating. I wasn't surprised by it. I was obviously a little bit disappointed by it.
I mean, one thing that's come across to me in this conversation so far is how transformational Barry was. And I think a lot of actors say that to me, like, "Oh yeah, it was a role that changed my life," or whatever. And sure. In this case, it really was. Like, it really did kind of change everything. You told me how your show was, you were on this show that got canceled beforehand, how you got brought onto this show. You had to step outside your comfort zone a million times. You had to advocate for your character to allow her to be this complex. You had to kind of take in it's kind of this misogynist criticism of the character about her likability. Let's wrap it up. Like, looking back on it now, as people are watching the last season, Sarah, what are you most proud of when you look back at your time on Barry?
I think that we all developed this kind of fearlessness. That's what I'm most proud of. We all came in with our ways of working, and then we learned to work as a team. And I felt like I learned a lot on that show about letting go, and about, best idea wins, and there are no bad ideas. Let's throw 10 shit ones against the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, it was really the creative freedom that was so special. And I'm really proud that we held on to that for all those years.
That and the image of Henry Winkler searching for his car.
I know. The legend that he is.
Sarah, I didn't know until I had watched the first couple of seasons of Barry that you were Canadian. It's exciting to get to talk to you as a Canadian actor who's doing such amazing stuff. Congratulations on the new show. Congratulations on Barry. Thanks for coming on the CBC, and take care of yourself.
Thank you. It's so exciting for me to speak to a fellow Canadian. I'm homesick now. It's lovely to meet you, Tom.